everybody, and welcome back to my little comfort kitchen, Gumbo's Comfort Kitchen. Today we're going to do one of my absolutely favorite recipes, which is Kayla's Gumbo. And it is a chicken andouille gumbo. And it's right from Louisiana. It's Kayla's family recipe. She showed it to me a few years ago, and I was absolutely astounded at the methodology because I'd never seen a roux made quite like this before, because there is, first of all, it's an oil-based roux. It takes a bit of work, but it's not hard work. It's pretty simple. The technique is not difficult. It just takes patience, because you've got to take the roux, the flour, and the oil and turn it into a chocolate color, and that takes time, which you'll see. But once you get past that part and you get that really nice chocolatey colored roux, it ends up being, without question, the most amazing gumbo I've ever had. I wish I could say it was mine, but it's not. So Kayla, I'd like to thank you again. What a brilliant recipe. And let's get started and see what this looks like. So let's start now with arguably the most important part of this dish, which is the roux. It's also the most unusual one that I've ever seen, but Kayla showed this to me, and I kind of freaked out, to be honest, when I saw how much oil there was compared to flour on an oil-based roux. But this is what she did. And I've got the heat on medium right now, because I don't want to burn anything. This is the most critical part of a roux. So I'm going to whisk this together. And I know it looks lumpy right now, but don't worry, it'll go away. Now, a lot of other roux have got the opposite proportion, where they have less oil and more flour. And this one has more oil and less flour. And I do have the amounts on my site. But I gotta tell you, after I saw what she did with this and the way it came out, I was quite flabbergasted. So now you can see all the lumps are gone, and it just looks like a big watery puddle. Now what's going to happen is I've got this on medium heat, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to, because I'm left-handed, I'm going to switch the orientation here. And all I'm going to do now is, with my spatula, and you want to use a heavy bottom pan, preferably cast iron, like this if you can, because it makes it a lot easier to control and it doesn't burn as easily. So this is going to go on for about 20 minutes of this action. I'm not going to bore you with it, but as this goes on, I'll come back. All right. So in the meantime, in between time, while I was making the roux, I just want to show you what the main ingredients are, which are, I'm using chicken thighs. Now Kayla likes to use chicken breasts, but I like the thighs because they're more juicy. And I've only par cooked them. And I'm going to shred these at the last minute before I put them in, because they cook quite quickly, obviously. We got garlic, and then I have, we have the Holy Trinity, bell peppers, green bell peppers, onions, and celery. And I have a bundle of thyme from the garden, and garlic, as I said, and bay leaves, and the andouille, which is a star. This adds all the smokiness to it. A cayenne pepper, and Cajun spices, which you can get at any local market. So those are going to be the main ingredients. Those are the players. Okay. And let's get back to the roux. So we're 7 minutes in. And there's really not much difference here. You can see a little bit of bubbling. The trick is to get it hot enough that you're actually cooking the flour in the oil, and yet not so hot as to burn it. Now this bubbling will go away as I've turned the heat down just a little bit. So this does require, there's no question, it requires a lot of patience. And that would be my wife's phone. So I'll be back. Alright, you can see we're getting there. So the idea is to let it rest on the bottom a little bit, flour, and then it cooks off a bit, gets a little bit darker. And then once you scrape everything so it doesn't burn, then let it rest for a little bit. And we're going for chocolate today. We're going to see how far we can go to the edge without burning it. Alright, so I think this is as close as I want to get to the edge today, because if I go much further it's going to be burnt. And the last 35 minutes will be wasted. So now I'm going to put in what they call the Holy Trinity. Get ready, because it's going to be loud. And this is instantly searing all of these vegetables. And you can also see it starting to thicken up as a result. I'm going to let that go for a couple minutes. It smells wonderful, by the way, I got to tell you. And as soon as that goes in, and we let that cook off a bit in the oil, in the most watery roux you've ever seen in your life. And the moisture from these vegetables has already started to thicken it. But not to worry. 98% of all the oil that I put in here will be gone by the end. I've already preheated the oven. And I'm now going to add chicken stock. And I better open some more. So I've got, for the record, I've got about 6 cups of chicken stock, which has now cooled it down substantially. And I've got the chicken that I've par cooked. That's all going in. And the bay leaves, cayenne, and this is the Cajun, garlic, lots of garlic, love garlic, chopped garlic, and some dried thyme, and of course the andouille. So all of that is now going to go in. And I've got the oven set at 300 degrees. I'm going to cover this, and for the next hour and a half I'm going to let this cook. Every 30 minutes I'm going to open it up and stir it up a bit, and we'll be back. Alright, so we are at the 1 hour 30 minute mark. I pull this out of the oven, and as you can see, there is a lot of oil on top of here. But I'm going to let this rest for about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to skim off about 90% of all the oil that I put into this, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I've skimmed off almost all of the oil. There's a little bit left in there, but not very much. And this is what we're left with. And right now I'm just in the process of making the dirty rice. And then I'll plate. And this is what it is. It's a long process. The roux takes some time. You know, obviously an hour and a half in the oven does as well. But I gotta tell you, if you want a really, really good gumbo, this is it. So, as always, I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe, and I will show you the plate after this. Okay? Take care. Bye. So after all of that, here's what we have, which is dirty rice, which is a whole lot of different recipe. A little glass of wine, and some dinner outside. And this is Kayla's gumbo. The best I've ever had. I hope you enjoy.